Hi everyone, welcome to my Zero Absolute channel on YouTube. Today I'm gonna try to show you how you can use an Octane plane light as a video projection system. First, I want to tell you that this is my very first tutorial in English. I'm a teacher and producer of 3D VFX and motion design stuff. I used to record a lot of tutorials in French, and this one is my very first one in English. So I hope you will forgive me if my English is not perfect, but I'm gonna try to be clear enough for you to understand what we are doing. The second thing I want to say is that usually when I publish French tutorials, people used to give some feedbacks on the comments, and they used to tell me that I am a slow guy, that I used to get too deep onto every step of how to do something. But I really like everyone to understand what they are doing, not just replicating, not just having some steps from the beginning to the end, but I want people to understand what they are doing. So that's why my tutorials used to be quite long, something usually from 20 minutes to 45 or something like this. So this one is kind of complex to understand, so this tutorial should be I think around 35 to 40 minutes, I think so. So let me show you what we are going to do. Here we have a real-time preview of what's happening on the scene. So the scene is just a cylinder which is which looks like a room, a circular room. There are some blocks here you can sit on, and we have a video projector which projects the image we can see here that looks like a flame or flames, but it is not. It is a liquid simulation which is colorized with red and yellow stuff. So it is not that easy to understand how to project an image using the Octane area standard light, and we will take it from the beginning now. So let's reset the project on 3ds Max. Then we're gonna create the same thing with the cylinder, and we're gonna take it to the real size. So let's say okay, here I have cylinder, but the size is not okay, so I'm gonna get into the modifier panel, and I want a radius of, let's say, 400 centimeters, and an height of 2.5 meter. I will add some sides for the circle, for the cylinder to be smooth. I will grow the number of sides to 64. Alright, so now I will just convert the cylinder to an editable poly, but it could be, I could do the same just using the edit poly here on the modifier list. with the edit poly, I'm gonna select the polygon. So I'm gonna remove the top of the cylinder, which is the top of the room, the roof top. And now I'm gonna select all those faces and I'm gonna flip them so the walls are turned inside. That's okay. So now I'm gonna add just as you have seen some blocks people can sit on. I'm gonna use boxes for this. Just a box here with an height of 52 centimeters, another one with the same height, 52, and a bigger one with a height of, let's say, 63 centimeters. Okay, so now we can see the room with the circular wall, and we're gonna project light. Then after this we're gonna try to tweak the light so we can project a picture. So we're gonna go to the light creating system and Octane. So I'm gonna create an Octane light in the middle of my cylinder here. So this light is quite big. It makes 15 by 15 centimeters. Let's just take a look at what it looks when we render this. So let's go to the render setup and come on, where are you? Oh, he's there. It's outside of the screen. Okay, I'm gonna use the window resolution, but I just want to set some basic resolution to 720p. I'm gonna render the viewport, right? So I'm gonna lock it to the camera, actually using a perspective view here. So as you can see, the scene is already lit by an ambient light, and we can turn this one off or near zero from the rendering menu inside the environment panel. You can change the environment color. So I'm gonna turn it down to a value, a simple value of 3 from the white color. I need to reload and to update the render geometry to see the new settings applied. So this view is completely black, or it looks black, but my Octane light is actually outputting, giving some light to the scene, but we cannot see it because the power of this light is too low. It's too low, and it's because the scene is really large and the light is small and the power is very small. The power is 1 actually. So I'm gonna grow it up to 100, and now we can see that our plane, our Octane light plane, is emitting light from only one of both sides of the light. So if you need to, you can double side the light with this checkbox, so the light is emitted from each side of the light, but it's not really what we want to. We want to project an image through the light, so it's gonna be only projected on one of the light sides. Now there's something you can see which is really important. That is my light, which is 15 centimeters by 15 is producing a smooth shadow on the blocks here. And if my light were bigger in size, the shadow will be more smooth, as you can see. That's because, and we really need to understand this when we are projecting an image through an octane light. We really need to understand this, so I'm gonna go to my Photoshop and show you a cut, a transversal cut. So here is my light. Let me draw this in black. So here's my light projecting lights, photons, this way. Here is my front wall, and here is the ground. So actually my rectangular or square light is projecting photons this way, but also on every other ways, from the bottom to the top. And also, if we were looking to the light from the top, as we can create a new okay, so this is the screen, this is the light seen from top. The light is oriented to the front, so my light is projecting all the ways from the front, the perpendicular front of the object to the sides, but not behind. No, it's not happening behind. It is just projecting in front of. So let me remove those. Okay, so we have this light going this way, this side of the plane. That's why when I get back, so you can see the light is emitting this way. There is some light at the back, but it is just coming from reflections of the light on the walls. So if I use a smaller light, the shadows are becoming to get sharper. As you can see, if my light is really small, as it is just 0.1 centimeter, you can see that the shadows are really sharp. And it is really important when we're gonna filter the light, we're gonna use a filter to say, okay, don't just send a white or a colored light, depending on the temperature you're using or the color here. I'm gonna use let's say a blue colored light with a small power. Don't just emit that blue light, but use a distribution map. That's a kind of a filter. So I'm gonna click on no map here on the distribution. Let's expand the maps and go to the Octane render maps. I'm gonna load an RGB image. So this RGB image actually is black, so there's no light emitted, because the white light, the light that wants to get through the filter, is converted to black, because there is no filter, there is no image actually used to filter the light. So I'm gonna turn my light white back, okay, and I'm gonna go to the material editor, and here on the scene materials you can see that our first map, map number 1, we have just created in selecting an RGB image from the distribution, is actually used in the scene. So I'm gonna grab it on the view, and we have this first map which is made of nothing. So I'm gonna select a file for this light. I'm gonna click on the None button, and I'm gonna choose an animation. You can choose a still image, but I will do this with an animation. I will just select the first frame from my PNG animation sequence, and I'm gonna check here down the sequence button to let 3ds Max know that this is a sequence, and he must use every pictures from the sequence. So open. I can choose where the sequence starts and where it ends. So I'm gonna let those parameters, those automatic parameters, they are okay. And now I'm gonna go further on the animation, because I know my first picture is black. So I'm gonna go further, and I will change the length of the timeline. I'm working on 25 frames per second in PAL. The end time is 500. That's okay. So as you can see now, my Octane light is projecting what's inside the animation, and that's exactly what I want the light to. But actually the light is projecting very far from the left to the right and the bottom to the top of the projector. Of the light. As you can see, the light is projecting some ray lights just at the bottom of the light, which is not how a projector works, a video projector works. So I can see here in my RGB image that I have a first automatically set parameter on the UV transform. We have a 2D transformation, and if we click on this one, we can go to some parameters, and we can change the translation, the rotation, and the scale of the picture that we are using for the distribution of the light. Distribution, let's say it's a filter. We are filtering the light through this distribution picture. And now we can change the scale, and we can get a smaller scale on the x-axis or the u-axis, as the plane is projecting from its own coordinate system, which is referred to as u and v, as it is x and y. And if I change the scale on u or on x, as you can see, the picture is getting smaller, but the picture is repeated. We're gonna get the y or the v smaller too. So here is approximately what I should get in the front. My source animation from the RGB image is 16:9 ratio. So I'm gonna scale it to 16, let's say 0.16 and 0.09. So this ratio is correct actually, but this image is repeating up and down and from left to right also. So on the RGB image properties, you can go to the bottom here, and there is a property called border mode. So you can use the default one, which is warp around, so the image will be repeated when it gets to the end from the far right or far left, or from the top or the bottom. So we can use a mirror, so the image will be reversed each time the image will come back on the scene. And there are those two options which are white color, so the border of the picture will be turned automatically white, or simply black if you choose border mode black color. So now we don't have this picture repeating from left to right or top to bottom. So this looks not so good, but it's a beginning. So let's increase the power of the light. We are starting from 20, and we're gonna raise this number to 500. So now you can really see that the light is projected, and there is some reflection that we can see here on the ground of the scene. So this looks good. I mean, it's a good start. Now let's see where this is going wrong. If I select the planar octane light, which is emitting the light to the front of the scene, and if I turn the light to the right, let me just use the snap angle, so it's gonna be easier to go back. As you can see, as I'm turning the light, we can see that there is more light to the right of the scene, but the picture that we are using for this distribution filter is not rotating with the light, and that is not what I'm looking to achieve. I want the projected picture to turn with the light. So what's happening here, and we'll go back to Photoshop. I'm gonna try to explain what's happening. So we've got a light projecting this way to this wall, and we are adding a filter, a distribution map. So this filter is coming in front of the light. The light projection is filtered by this picture. So my light will emit rays which are gonna be filtered from my picture or my animated sequence. When I turn the light, let's say to the right, so I'm gonna use a red pen. Let's say this light now is turned to the right this way. My light will still emit rays of light, but this picture that I am using to filter the emission will not move with the light. When I'm rotating the light to the right, the distribution map will not move. That's why when I turn this light to the right, it's emitting less and less rays on the left of the light, and the distribution filter picture stays on the same place. It's not moving with the light. So we need to find a solution to make this texture RGB image to move with the light. And the solution is here. It's on the second section of the transformation of the RGB image. It's on the projection. How will I project the picture on the scene? Actually, I have no map or no attribute, no property to tell the picture how the picture must project on the scene. So the picture is has a very basic orientation, which is not linked to the object, which is the light. So I will click on no map here, and I will just make a parenthesis here, a small one, because Octane on Cinema 4D, using a light projection with Octane on Cinema 4D is really simple, because you only have to select the perspective projection, and the perspective projection will make the bitmap, the filter distribution map, to rotate with the object, which is the light we are emitting from. But with 3ds Max this is not working as expected. I can try to use the perspective. As we can see here, the map is projected from the light to the bottom, and we can try to correct it using the perspective transformation, and we are trying to convert from the object space to a perspective from which will be transformed from a 3D transformation. But if I try to let's say translate the image, as you can see, the ratio is not good, the size is not good. When I get straight to the point where I want the light to be emitted, it's getting to a perspective point of view, and all the picture is pointing to that perspective point, infinite perspective point. So this is not actually what we want to use to transform the projection of the distribution map. So I'm gonna remove this perspective and this 3D transform. I'm going back to the RGB image, and on the projection property I'm gonna select the XYZ to UVW transformation. So this transformation will take the coordinates from the picture, from the RGB picture. We'll take those original coordinates and we'll transform them so they can match the UV and W orientation of the plane which we are emitting light from. That's from the scheme. It's you remember that we were trying to turn the light to the right here, but the distribution picture won't move. So I need this distribution picture move with the object and be always facing the perpendicular direction of the light. So to do this, we're gonna use the XYZ to UVW transformation, and inside this transformation system, we need to set two things. First, the coordinate space. So I'm gonna use I will not work with the world space coordinates. I will use the object space coordinates, which is our light plane. And on the XYZ transformation, actually there is no property, no map. So I'm gonna use a 3D transformation. Okay, so let's reload, update the render geometry on the scene, and now from this 3D transformation, if I use this first parameter from the rotation, from the XYZ, so I'm gonna rotate the picture this way on a negative X until I get to minus 90. So now my my distribution image picture filter is linked to the light, and I just added a rotation of minus 90. I can also make changes on the scale, so the picture can be larger. I can change the 8 of the scale on the Y, and the Z will have no action because the projection of my picture has no Z depth. Now, what is really important when we use this XYZ to UVW coordinates transformation using the coordinate space from the object space, is that the transformation is linked to the light. So if I turn my light to the right, as you can see, the picture is projected to the right. And it's the same if I turn my projector to the bottom. The projection still goes on the same angle as the light is turning upside down or from left to right. So actually, if I take a look at my light from the top, here, let me zoom to my light. Really hard to see. Okay, so the light is slightly turned to the right, so I'm gonna take it back to the front. Okay, so actually my light is near the middle of the cylinder of the scene and is turned to the front. So let's take a look at what's happening here with my animation. So the light is projected to the front. It's now the good time to set the power, because perhaps we need more power or less power, and we need to set the power according to the camera aperture, or it also depends the quantity, the number of rays that will bounce from the wall will also depend on the kernel settings. Actually, I will use a smaller filter to get a sharper picture. I will raise the max samples to 1024, but my picture still looks a little burnt, so I need to use a lower power. Okay. From the camera, you can also use a non-linear tone mapping. So every little ray of light will bounce around and will be seen. I will raise my environment lighting to 10. It's gonna be enough. I will reload the scene. Okay, so now as you can see, we have something that looks like we are trying to achieve. When I turn the projector to the right, the light is projected to the right. Okay, so it's the same from the top to the bottom. It looks good. So my picture and my projection is actually a little small, and there are two things you can three parameters you can work with. It's the distance between the projector and the wall. If I put my projector at the back of the room, of the cylindrical room, as you can see, the projected picture is bigger and is smaller when my projector is closer to the wall. The second parameter you can work with is the first 2D transformation, which is applied to the RGB image. Actually, I have a 16:9 ratio, but you can double it, triple it, or have any ratio you need to. Let's say 1.6 and 0.9 here. So my picture is really big, but if I move my projecting light near the wall, as you can see, the picture could have been looking like a video projector, but actually it's not the case, because this plane is emitting without any transformation from physical transformation of the light. So if we use a projector without a lens that will transform the picture, so it will look like a square or a rectangular picture on the wall, that's what we would get. So if we are too near from the wall, we have this transformation of the picture, which is not exactly what we want to achieve. So it's better to not to use this scale transformation from the basic transform of the RGB image. It's better to use a very small scale here, let's say .016 and .009. Actually now my picture is really small. There is just a little point on the wall, so I'm gonna put my projector back. Let's leave my projector near the center of the scene, and now I'm gonna change the scale from the XYZ to UVW transformation. So here you can scale the picture. So let's say I want it to be 10 times bigger or 40 times bigger. Let's try 35 times bigger. Okay, so this is looking good. This looks like my original picture projection. Now we can still move the timeline, the timeline point. So we have this animation effect, and there is one last thing that we want to correct. If we were working with a real video projection system, as you know, when we use a projector, let's say the projection is made from here, this way, Okay, we have a projector. So when I'm projecting onto the wall, some projectors are centered on the picture they are projecting, but most of them are not. Most of the projectors are set to project the picture from the bottom or from the top. That means if my screen is here and my projector is at the bottom of the screen, my projected image will go there to there. You can set the projector upside down, and if I'm projecting from the top, I'll change the color. So I'm gonna get it, yeah. If I'm trying to projecting from the top, I'm gonna reverse the projection. So the top of the picture will be here and the bottom will be there. And if somebody goes, let's say, between the projector and the screen, you can have somebody here and he will not make any shadow on the screen. If this guy moves this way to here, he will project a shadow here. So going back to 3ds Max, we can do this, and it's really simple. Let's move my light plane to the top of the room. As you can see, the picture is going up on the wall, and now from the 3D transformation I'm just gonna use the translations parameters. So here I'm gonna use the Z parameter to get this angled effect. So the base of the picture is on the top and the bottom of the picture is here down, but the picture is moved from its central position to this position here. That's a kind of an offset. Let me just move this wall picture here. Okay, so if my projection were centered, the projection will be done like this. So the translation will move this picture from here to down here, and we are changing the angle we are projecting from. So that's what we are doing here with the Z translation. So here it is. And now let's say we have some people coming in front of the screen. So I'm gonna draw a box from here. I'm gonna draw a box like that. So this box is 182 centimeters 8. So as you can see, it could looks like somebody which is between the projector and the screen. So here is the result. And if you want to have a sharper picture, you must use a smaller projection plane. My projection plane from the light actually is quite small. So let's raise this so we can see how it becomes blurry. Okay, you can see now how each point of the filter is blurred because the size of the projection point is too big. So let's use something really small, 0.01, and now you can see that the picture is really sharp. And this is the best way to achieve a nice realistic projection. There are many other ways, and one of the ways consists of sending a white light through a transparent plane that contains the picture that we want the light to be filtered through. So we're gonna use a transparent material and send the light through this, but it's really it's not a good way to do this, because it's really heavy on calculation, and you will get many hot spots, hot points on the scene, and you will need to raise the number of samples to something like more than 100,000, and it's not the right way. This way, is the very best way to do this. As you can see, I can turn my projection to the bottom, to the right, etc., like a real video projector, like a real one, and that's great. And as you can see, there are no hot points, hot pixels with too much light. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this tutorial. So if you enjoy it, just click on the like button and subscribe to the channel. And because it is my very first English tutorial, just write a comment to let me know if I should continue or not, or if I must change something. But as I told you at the very beginning of this tutorial, I really like people to understand what they are doing when they are doing 3D picture. And that's why my tutorials used to be a little long or slow. Okay, so have a nice day and see you soon. Bye.